So welcome back. This is you can say we are talking on um, simple regression, linear regression, and we are now doing exercise 13, question 1. So the question is before you. The question is, I read, a researcher investigated whether a father's level of optimism was predictive of his son's optimism as a young adult. A researcher investigated whether a father's level of optimism was predictive of his son's optimism as a young adult. 20 fathers and sons who agreed to participate in the study were administered a scale measuring with their current level of optimism. The scale ranged from 10 to 50, with higher scores indicating greater optimism. So, data is already provided to us, and we have to enter this data in SPSS file, and then you can say answer the questions. So we have to state the alternate and null and altered hypothesis, state the research question, is the predictor significant? Test it alpha is equal to 0.05. What is the effect size? Would you characterize it as small, medium, or large? So that is what we have to answer. And finally, you can say we have to write the result of the study. So if you look at the question again, a researcher investigated whether the father's level of optimism was predictive of his son's optimism as a young child. So we are just saying that okay, if father was optimistic, you can say what optimism level he had when he was, you can say, young, and maybe you can say the optimism he's having is it really, you can say, good enough to predict the optimism level of his son? So that is there. So we have got 20, you can say, pair of father and son whose level of optimism has been recorded, and the range of optimism they have shown is between 10 to 50. The higher the score, the higher the level of optimism. So that's there. Here we have to state the null and altered hypothesis, state research question. We have to, you can say, um, see if the predictor is significant at alpha is equal to 0.05, find out the effect size, and then say that okay, fine, is it small, medium, or large? And finally, we have to, you can say, write the results of the study. So if you look here, the null and altered hypothesis, it's simple. The null hypothesis is beta is equal to 0. That is, father's optimism is unable to predict son's level of optimism. And the ordered hypothesis is beta is not equal to 0. Father's level of optimism is able to predict son's level of optimism. So that is our null and altered hypothesis. The research question is, does the father's level of optimism do the father's level of optimism is able to predict the son's level of optimism? So that is our research question. Now for question C, D, and E, we need to, you can say, go for the analysis first, and then we'll be able to answer. So moving to the SPSS file, I'm sharing the file with you. So this is the file. I've already got the data for you all here. So that's variable view. That's the data view where we have got the data of all 20 participants. 20, you can say, participants who couple up as father and son. So we have variable 1 and variable 2. So variable 1 is basically father. So let's say father's optimism, level of father's optimism, and then we have, you can say, scale is there. And for son, we have, you can say, level of son's optimism. That is very what we have, and the measure is again scale. So that is the things given to us. I move to, you can say, Now I am here to conduct the analysis, and before that, this is what the data is. Father and son there. So that's the data. So I'm moving to analyze. I'm moving to regression. I'm moving to linear regression, clicking on that. Level of father's optimism is independent, we know it. Level of son's optimism is level of son's optimism is dependent. And after that, I click just OK over here, and now the I'm getting the output file. So I'm clicking on the output file. This is where the data is, and this is the data before us. So we have got the data. If you look at the data, levels of father optimism is independent variable, which is criteria, which is predictor variable, and dependent variable is the level of sons. You can say optimism. If you look at the model summary, the R value comes to 0.629 and R square is 0.396. We'll talk on that a bit later. And then the ANOVA value, if you see, is 11.806 with significance of 0.003. It's highly significant. And if you look at, you can say, if you look at, you can say the t value here. The t value here is 3.436 with a significance of 0.003. So the C part of the question, if you do remember, was asking us about the significance of predictor variable. So we say that at t within brackets um, 18, that is degree of freedom, t within brackets small t within brackets 18, that is degree of freedom, 20 minus 2 is 18. So t within brackets 18 is equal to 3.436 comma alpha is equal to, sorry, at p small p is less than 0.05, and therefore predictor variable, that is father's level of optimism, is good enough to predict son's level of optimism. So that is what the answer we have got for C part. For D part, we have to talk about the effect size. Now, effect size, we all know in case of simple linear regression is given by R square. The value of R square here in our question is 0.396, which means 39.6% of son's level of optimism is defined by father's level of optimism. So that is what you can say the value of R square is saying. This R square is actually the effect size. So we know this effect size is 0.396, or you can say 39.6%. Now, if the value of, you can say, R square happens to be 0.01, we call it small effect size. If it is near to 0.09, we call it medium effect size. But here, in our case of this linear regression equation, if the value of R is 0.0, sorry, 0. Sorry, 0.24, it is supposed to be large. In our case, since the value is 0.396, it happens to be quite large. So we will say that effect size is large. And now coming to the last part of this question, which is talking about the interpretation of the um, sorry, which is talking about how we are going to write the answer. So we say uh, a simple linear regression was conducted to find out if the predictor variable, that is father's level of optimism, is able to predict the criterion, you can say, variable, that is son's level of optimism. And it was found that there's a significant relationship or significant level of production of father's level of optimism on son's level of optimism at within brackets, sorry, at comma t within brackets 18 is equal to 3.436 comma small p is less than 0.05, and fx size or r square is equal to 0.396. So that is all about the answer on this exercise 1 question on simple linear regression. I would request you all to kindly see question 2 and question 3 of assignment and try to attempt it. Solution for question 2 and question 3 will be before you after some time. So enjoy studying Business Lab and doing the assignments here. Thank you.